In many societies, marriage is viewed as the most basic of symbolic rites. It is frequently identified as the only or preferred way to create family structure. Though this union of man and woman is as old as time, the dynamics of these marriages vary greatly. Among the dynamics is a trend, unfortunately, of objectification and possession of women. Sadly, these attributes can be categorically identified in mythology as well as in our world today. More often than not, the wives in mythology are expected to fill multiple and subjugated roles, all the time without any form of empowerment. They are objectified, harassed, and cursed though the expectation remains that they will be peacemakers, healers, and helpmates to their husbands. These women are praised for their beauty and frequently identified exclusively by it, while being simultaneously condemned for any show of emotion or desire. This patriarchal system that exists in much of the world today is easily identified in many ancient mythologies through the treatment of women, especially married women. These roles are important to identify and discuss because of the contribution mythology has made on the mental attitudes and the roles that we take on today. The second husband of Hina of the Sea was attracted to her by her beauty. He impulsively took her as his wife, only to soon forget and neglect her. The neglect turned to abuse. Shortly after identifying the abuse, the text says that Hina of the Sea became pregnant. It was safe to assume that this is a child conceived by the abuse of husband to wife. Like Hina of the Sea, few women in mythology had control over whom they would marry. Phrygia, though she is goddess, is requested as payment. Similarly, Psyche's sisters did not choose their husbands, but rather were chosen. Brynhild is held captive by not one, but two men, the latter of whom disguises himself to win her. Even Isolde is deceived by Tristan twice. She is passed from man to man. Psyche herself did not choose her husband. Desperate for her life, she runs away. In the night, a man comes to her. Invisible and without discussion, he has sex with her and makes Psyche his wife. Through forced sex, she is now married, spoken for. When her infamous husband Cupid returns to her, he finds her crying. He castigates her for her emotion and the fact that it prohibits him from having sex. It is this image that American greeting card companies have decided to immortalize as the face of love. His misdeed is ignored and his image animated. The misogynist becomes the hero of love that is emblazoned on candy boxes. Beautiful Ako was similarly conquered. She's an adventurous, free spirit. However, the Dragon Prince tames her. She is afraid of her new home, but the Dragon Prince rescues her and assuages her fears. He is the rescuer and she is the damsel in distress. Once she is married to him, there is no mention of her adventures, only her domestication. Soon she is the mother to many children. She's the primary caregiver and holder of family traditions. Eventually, the Dragon Prince must leave her for his duty under the sea. She is left alone with a piece of jade and her cries, which echo in the distance. Sif is also a trophy wife. She is beautiful and in need of rescuing. While she is vulnerable and sleeping, Loki makes her his prey and cuts off her hair. Thor is enraged but allows Loki to fix the problem. Loki eventually gets Sif's hair back by Thor's demand because God forbid she be without her beauty. Thor is the conqueror, the hero. However, the reader and Sif are left to wonder what he was defending, her honor or her beauty. However desirable, beauty often leads to trouble for wives. It is Psyche's beauty alone that draws Cupid to her. She is noted to possess the kind of beauty that makes other beauties pale in comparison. With one look, Cupid is in love. A love which we've mentioned causes him to dominate and rape Psyche in her sleep. Communicated through the emphasis on beauty, women play a decorative role. They are supporting actresses at best. However, there is little honor in this support. Part of the support that they are required to supply is the role of peacemaker. Even though the Sabine women have been kidnapped and forced into marriages, they are expected to make peace for Rome. Their immortalization in historical artworks indicates a fascination with this treatment of women. Wives were also responsible for tasks and chores. Household chores and child-rearing were solely a wife's responsibility. Even young Maui feels pity as he watches his mother's toil. Perhaps he feels pity for the unequal distribution of work. Perhaps he feels pity for the thankless nature of her work, or even more likely still, he feels pity that she is a woman. Similarly, when Orunmilas dies, his best friend credits cooking his meals as the greatest accomplishments of Orunmila's unnamed wife's whole life. It is expected that service not only be a woman's primary responsibility, but that she do it happily. Even Ma Anda spends her days toiling for her irresponsible, foolish, and gluttonous husband. Mythology creates female and wife identities that are so enmeshed in their husbands that when these men die, many of the women do not want to live on. Baldur's wife Nanna dies after he does. Ma'anda dies after Papandir. The identities of these wives cease to be when their husbands die. Hina of the Sea tries to drown herself when her first husband dies. Since her second husband is abusive and vengeful, the message seems to be that she would have been better off had she died when her first husband did. Following their men into death seems to be an expectation. Even Isis journeys into the underworld looking for Osiris. Though multitudes of women can be found serving and being dominated by their husbands and other men in mythology, there are a few who attempted to break the chains of control. Very few of them became heroes, and even fewer of them found success. Isis, though a goddess who is an exception in many ways, still spends her whole life searching for her husband. Tulia tries to choose a marriage partner and is portrayed as murderous and lustful. She's unable to exhibit male characteristics without repercussion. What is good for the goose is not good for the gander, according to the marriage systems portrayed in mythology. Kali also serves as an example of what happens to women who rebel against the archetype. She's unwillingly tied physically with a prostitute and subsequently punished. She's horrid and terrifying. She refuses men and prefers beggars and pariahs. Her deviance from the traditional wife leaves her a frightening whore. Society, because of mythology, has conditioned women to believe that their wedding day will be the happiest day of their lives. They're conditioned to believe that this day is of utmost importance. Their beauty is admired, ceremony is held, and their lives as wives can begin. However, this life isn't always what the wife believes it will be. Though she believes she is a beauty and an equal partner, her husband frequently sees her as something he has conquered, someone who can now take care of his household tasks. Frequently, the women in mythology were seen only as objects. Once they had been won, they were of no use to the husband in any kind of intellectual or emotional way. They were persecuted for their emotions, persecuted for their desires, and raped whenever they wouldn't give in to the desires of the men around them. They were used and abused categorically. They were also frequently pressured to take on lots of household chores and responsibilities, including child care.
Honey, the baby needs changed.
There are thousands of volumes of mythology and thousands more about marriage and family. But both are full of examples of women being forced to conform to the roles that men have created for them. These roles seldom represent the complex desires that these women represent. When women try to deviate, they are subsequently punished. When mythology supposes that the creation of woman is a punishment, and they'll forever cause men pain and trouble, the outlook is no good. Zeus himself said that women are a sex synonymous with trouble and pain. The rest of mythology shows that women should be subjugated to roles that pertain to menial tasks. This attitude has infiltrated our collective conscious and poisoned our relationships. Research shows that Americans value marriage more than the residents of any other developed nation. And the mythical archetypes that we have created connect to the collective conscious and influence our actions. If we continue to digest the stereotypical and cruel roles that mythology has created for its wives, we will subjugate and abuse women instead of appreciating them when they take on the role of wife. The world and its mores are changing, and there is no longer room for the mistreatment of women within the familial system.